I haven't done one of these videos in a while, so I thought today would definitely be a good time to just catch up on some of the news that has been going on in the NHL over the past couple of weeks. I haven't done these type of videos as frequently as I was earlier in the summer, and that's just because there hasn't been as much news consistently, but I let it all build up over time, and I thought that there was enough right now that I could make a quick little video on it for you guys today. So without wasting any more time, let's jump into it with a couple signings that the New York Islanders made. So at least one of the RFAs out there agreed to a contract, and that was Anthony Beauvillier of the New York Islanders, agreeing to a 2-year, $4.2 million deal with an annual average of $2.1 million. This is basically just a bridge contract. We see these a lot, and it definitely makes sense in this situation because Beauvillier had a little bit of a down year compared to his 2017-18 season. He was a 20-goal scorer, had 36 points, and then this year didn't crack 20 goals and only had 28 points. And in my opinion, Beauvillier should be able to be a consistent 20-goal guy and maybe even in a good year give you 50 points. So it definitely makes sense in this situation that they only decide to give him a bridge deal instead of locking him up long term, because he has been a little bit inconsistent to start his career. But again, a low risk move, and it's definitely nice that they got him under contract before training camp. Moving along now to the second signing that the New York Islanders made, and that is signing Derek Brassard to a 1-year, $1.2 million contract. Now, I like this move for them. That gives them, increased center depth. They have Matthew Barzal, Brock Nelson, and then Derek Brassard will probably play that third line center role, and hopefully if he's healthy next year he can do well, because he played on 3 NHL teams this past season: the Penguins, the Panthers, and the Colorado Avalanche, and that definitely has to be tough on a player. So for his sake, I hope he has a strong year. I hope he stays healthy, maybe gets like 35 or 40 points or something along the lines of that, and then maybe gets a contract extension with the New York Islanders. But again, this is a low risk move. If it doesn't work out, it's only 1 year, and what's the worst that could happen? He just gets injured or doesn't play, or just doesn't play very well. You can always have him as a scratch player or something, but honestly I think this is going to work out for them. Definitely a smart move by the Islanders. Moving along to the other RFA signing that we have to talk about, definitely not one of the bigger name players, but St. Louis got their guys re-signed. Ivan Barbashev, 2-year contract. He'll be making $1.475 million annually over the next 2 seasons, and again, this is a bridge contract. It's a low risk move. He had 26 points this past season. It was definitely a decent year for him, by far his best year in the NHL yet, and he had 6 points in 25 playoff games, so he definitely played a little bit of a role in their playoff run. And again, this is just a move that you want to get a guy signed before training camp, and you never know, maybe over this bridge contract he breaks out and becomes like a 35 or 40 point player. He's only 23 years old, and again, not too much to say in this other than it's good that they got him under contract before training camp. Moving along now to a couple notable retirements, starting off with 35-year-old goaltender Cam Ward. He also signed a 1-day contract with Carolina so that he could retire. A member of the Hurricanes, where he basically played his entire career except for this past season. He was a member of the Chicago Blackhawks. Cam Ward had a career record of 334 wins, 256 losses, 88 overtime losses, a .908 save percentage, and a 2.74 goals against. Definitely a solid career for Cam Ward. He won a Stanley Cup with the Carolina Hurricanes. Definitely the greatest goaltender in the history of that franchise, and again, it was really nice to see him sign a 1-day contract, and it was nice to see Carolina work with him, and I honestly think this is a good decision. He doesn't really have anything else to prove, had a very solid career, and shout out to Cam Ward on his retirement. Moving along now to another member of the Carolina Hurricanes, and Justin Williams didn't really come out and say he's retiring from the NHL, but he did say that he is stepping away from the game, and I honestly don't know what that means. Is he gonna come back, a little bit into the season? Is he going to come back next year? Honestly, I'm not quite sure what Justin Williams' plans are, but again, if he wants to take a step away, he definitely has earned the right to. Has had an amazing career, and if he does decide to retire, he's definitely a guy who will probably get a little bit of Hall of Fame recognition. I don't necessarily see him as a guy who will get in though, because he hasn't really been a superstar ever in his career. Just a very good, very consistent player, and definitely one of the most clutch players to ever play the game. Mr. Game 7, I know he hates that nickname, but he's never going to shake it because he is just so clutch when it matters, and Carolina definitely is in good hands for the future. A lot of good young talent there, and when Justin Williams said he is taking a step away, he said he wants Carolina to focus on the youth, and that just shows how much of a class act Justin Williams is. I honestly made a video a couple days ago talking about the remaining UFAs and what I think they're going to do. I talked about Justin Williams in that video, and I had came out and said that I think he probably will return for at least one more year. You know, the captain of the Carolina Hurricanes had a relatively solid offensive season this past year as well. I definitely thought he was going to come back, and you never know, he still could. He only said he's stepping away, but if Justin Williams does decide to retire, shout out to him on an amazing career, and he definitely deserves all the time off he needs. Moving along now to the news that just broke today. Obviously this one, you know, it's tough to see, but again, I talked about this on my UFA video a couple days ago, and I honestly said I think it would be best if Nicholas Cromwell did decide to retire and, you know, kind of just let the youth of the blue line take over in Detroit, and he definitely had an amazing career. I'm definitely going to miss him Cromwelling people, you know, have his back turned and just absolutely flattening people when they're trying to enter the zone or trying to leave their zone, whatever it may be. Nicholas Cromwell was definitely an entertaining player to watch over the course of his career, and definitely a guy I got to watch a lot, me being a Red Wings fan, because he basically played every season. Yes, he did struggle with injury a little bit, but he was consistent. He was a very important piece for Detroit, you know, ever since coming into the league in the 2003-2004 season, won a Stanley Cup with us in 2008, and was definitely a big part in that playoff run as well. And even though, yes, I think this is the best move, it still made me a little bit upset seeing the news, and kind of made me reminisce a little bit, just because this is basically the end of an era now. Henrik Zetterberg had to retire from his back injury, Pavel Datsyuk is no longer playing in the NHL, and now Nicholas Cromwell has decided to retire, and those three are like the remaining players that were here for so long and were such big parts in how dominant Detroit was in that long playoff streak. And now it's kind of all over, but I am pretty excited and looking forward to the future, and I am happy that we kept Nick Cromwell in the organization. I'm not quite sure what his role was, but I know he is going to be helping Stevie Y out in some way, and hopefully he can really help us into the future. And now I'm going to finish off the video talking about how there isn't really much on the big name RFAs, and is there going to be a lot of sit-outs throughout training camp. John Tortorella came out and said this, that he just absolutely hates the fact that there's any chance Zach Werenski could miss training camp. He also came out and said that he wasn't happy with all the UFA departures, but that is not something I'm going to dive too much into. But again, this just shows you how frustrating this all has to be, and I'm just really happy that Detroit isn't a part of this and we don't have any of our big name RFA players in this RFA class, because it's basically just a clog up. And at this point, I have to say, everybody must be waiting for Mitch Marner, but if they are, I honestly think they could be waiting a while. Kyle Dubas was interviewed by Bob McKenzie today, I believe, and honestly not too much news came out of that. Dubas did come out and say that he did not explore trading Mitch Marner whatsoever, and they expect him to be a Maple Leaf, and they expect him to be a Maple Leaf for a long time. Dubas also said that he really hopes they have Mitch Marner under contract before training camp, and obviously he's going to say that. He's not going to be like, oh, it doesn't matter, I don't care if he misses training camp, whatever. He's obviously going to come out and say the right things, and again, not really too much news came out of that interview whatsoever, besides stuff that we already knew. It's just like a waiting game at this point, and honestly, it is really getting frustrating, and I'm not even a fan of any of the teams with the big name RFAs, but the ones that really baffle me, it seems like Philadelphia. I mean, this one not so much, because there was news that Provorov was asking for $10 million a year. I don't believe that. I honestly think that it's just giving people something to talk about. They have a lot of cap space. I thought he would be under contract already, same with Travis Konechny. I also thought Zach Werenski would have been signed long ago, because what are they waiting for? Give the guy whatever he wants. He's going to be a critical part to your team right now and into the future, and you don't have to spend this money anywhere else. You have Seth Jones under contract. Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to be up for a new deal next summer, but again, you have so much money, and I honestly just think they should give Zach Werenski whatever he wants and not risk him sitting out for training camp, because again, John Tortorella is definitely a coach where he wants you on the ice for training camp, and he definitely doesn't like the idea that Zach Werenski could miss. And then you still have players like Kevin Fiala, who's still a restricted free agent. Obviously, the Jets got Kyle Connor and Laine still, Mikko Rantanen, Braden Point. The list goes on, and honestly, at this point, it's just super frustrating. Also, something I forgot to touch on, Jesse Puljujarvi, yes, he did sign over in Finland. He scored, I believe, a couple seconds into his first game, so hopefully he can go over there and maybe get his confidence back, and then, you know, want to make an NHL return. Who knows, maybe he will change his mind and want to play with the Edmonton Oilers, but I honestly don't think that's going to happen. He seems pretty dead set on either staying over in Europe or getting a trade to a new team, so we're going to have to wait and see what happens with all these restricted free agents. Again, Jesse Puljujarvi is actually a guy who is still technically an RFA at the NHL level, but man, this is just super frustrating, and I want some of these guys to sign because I want something to talk about, because right now, this point in the offseason, we're just waiting for the preseason. There isn't too much to talk about, and if a lot of these guys started to sign, it would definitely give us, you know, a lot more video ideas and a lot more conversations to be had. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below on all the news that I touched on in today's video. And if you guys are not already, make sure to click the links down below in the description. Follow me on Instagram, and also make sure to follow me on Twitter. I'm pretty active on there. I try to respond to as many people possible on Twitter, and also I'm using Patreon a lot more. We're currently at 4 patrons, and once we hit 11, I will start a fantasy hockey league with those 11 patrons heading into next NHL season. So if those are some things you're interested in, make sure to click the links down below in the description. And with all that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.